I think the day you start your business, you need to think about succession. And succession is about capital value. It's not about retirement, it's about building capital value. And you begin to say, if the business only consists of me, what can the business be worth? So once the business begins to get some momentum, I need to bring someone beside me who can step into my shoes. And then I need to bring in another person and another person. So there's continual stepping up. And if you think of the life cycle of a business, there's a number of points. Quite often when a business gets to $1 million in turnover, it struggles to go past that because it means they've got to take on a couple of extra people. They can't do it themselves. Then when they get to $5 million, they're now at another level. They need to have a small management team. They need to have people who they can rely on. And it's no longer my skill as the individual business owner to make the sales, to do everything. It's now my skill to lead a management team. Then you go to 10 million, to 20 million, to 50 million. There's points in a life cycle where they struggle to go past that because the skill sets they need change. And you see this restriction. So again, with small businesses, they almost have a choke on them at times unless they can release themselves and begin to change their skill set from doing it myself to teaching others how to do it. And that, of course, underpins capital value because now I have a business which doesn't need me. When you come back to structure, there's two aspects. It's how I manage the business. Who makes the decisions? What authorities have they got? What experience have they got? And how do we work as a team? And then the second part of it is, how do all the different parts of the business come together to meet client need, to supply client value? And again, if you think about that life cycle, there'll be stages in the business in which I need competent people who can run the business and make decisions without me. So part of the structure is getting that structure. Do I have a sales manager? Do I have a production person? Do I have someone else in service? How do I structure it so we actually get a focus on the client and meeting their needs or the customer? But the second part is, how do all the different parts of the business work together? And in a competitive sense, what we would say is today's competition is about delivering customer value and more value than the next person. So the question really for small businesses, medium-sized businesses, is what's my client value or my customer value proposition? What is the value I deliver to them? Why should they come to me rather than anyone else? And if I have a good sense of that, then I can build the structure of my organization to focus on that. And then I keep focusing on that, and that's where you get the compounding. I just become better and better and better and better than anyone else, and basically you leave the competition behind. So one of the weaknesses of many small businesses is it's dependent upon one person. Even if they have 20 staff, it's often dependent upon one person. And that's the person who owns the business, and that's the person who wants to sell the business. And when they get to that stage, and sometimes they've waited a bit too long, how can I actually transfer this? How can I take everything which has been mine for my entire life, which I've never allowed any of my staff really to get a handle on, and transfer it? And of course you can't. And therefore, what you have earned from the business is what you've earned, and the capital value will probably be very little. Yeah. So capital value depends upon two things. It depends upon certainty, and I think it depends upon opportunity. So accountants will look often at the profit, and they'll say, you've made this profit over the last few years, so we're going to take that profit. And there's two ways they value. They use a multiple, and the multiple is based upon risk. For small businesses, often 3, maybe 4, sometimes 5 will be the multiple of what that sustainable profit is. The other way they'll do it is they'll look at the future and they'll discount it back. So it's more like there's a cash flow business. I have a contract, I can see the contract going for the next 5 years, what's that worth? But when they do that, they're looking at what's happened in the past and making an assumption it's going to go to the future. For a buyer coming into it, they're always going to say, am I certain about this? Do I know those profits are going to be there? And the greater certainty I've got, the greater price I'll pay. But it's not only just certainty about what's been there in the past, it's also my perception of the future. How can I actually take it beyond what it is now? What opportunities there which maybe have not been exploited? What are the things which I could do which the previous owners haven't done? And then maybe I'll pay a premium for that because I can see what I can do with it. So how do I be certain about the profits continuing? I need to understand what has actually driven those profits. And in most businesses today, the things which drive profits are intangible. So when we talk about the things which actually drive the profits of a business, we need to own them. Is number one. They need to be transferable, they need to be durable, and they need to actually deliver a competitive value. I'll just give you a very simple example. A business which had an agency, and they've had the agency for many years, it accounts for a large portion of their sales. They come to sell the business, and 70% of their sales come from the agency. The question will be, can you transfer the agency to me? And often you can't transfer the agency. It's non-transferable. Often The agency agreement doesn't exist. It's been someone I've known for 20 years, we never renewed it. So in that particular case, there is actually no asset. I own nothing to transfer, and therefore the business has very little value. So when you think about your business and you think about how I'm going to grow it, you've got to say, what actually generates the profit? And what do I do to make that owned, transferable, durable, and of stronger value? Now, this could be your brand, it could be your location, it could be some IP, it could be your customer list, it could be your sales skills. There's many things which are there, but you've really got to get behind what actually is the profit to what generates the profit. Now, if all of that sits in me as an individual, then once I'm gone, there's nothing left. And therefore, as you grow the business, you need to get that, we'll call it the management team, up and running so they can continue with the business. You need to identify the things which allow you to do what you do well. And again, location, brand, IP, processes, customers, knowing what the customers want, and some of the even more intangible things are culture. And if you think of some of the very large companies like Apple, they have a culture which allows them to do many things. That exists in small businesses as well. So to me, the key about building capital value is understanding what actually grows the capital value, and then I, as an individual business owner, how do I actually get that into the business, into the other people into the business, in the systems and processes, because I want to be able to step away from that. If I can't, then there is no value.